Welcome back. We've just gone through transitions, 13,000 feet here in NZ, and are approaching our cruise altitude of flight level 150. We get out star, out green, bring the nav aids forward to Nelson, and set TCAS below. Normally we would grab an ATIS, then input the destination wind and QNH into the MCDU, but this gets done automatically for us in Flight Simulator. We'll now brief the star and approach. The Bicep to Alpha Star simply has us track from Bicep to Surid, with an 8,000 above height at Surid due to surrounding mountainous terrain. From Surid, we will track to Quail, which is the initial approach fix for the RMP Yankee runway 02 at Nelson. From Quail, it's a 5 mile leg out to Otlet, which has a 4,900 above constraint. From Otlet, we fly the 036 inbound to Islop, the final fix, crossing Islop at 1970 feet. At this point, approach mode should be active and the FMA should display VFP in green. From Islop, we can continue to an LNAV Cat-C minima of 490 feet. Conditions in Nelson's Day are clear skies with light winds, so we will be visual throughout the approach. The missed approach is loaded in the box if needed, tracking Patru to Burmo, then Mukra, climbing to 4,000 feet. The EFB tablet shows us our landing performance data, showing us the required runway distance, the arrival runway distance, our V approach and V go around speeds. Our V approach speed, normal conditions with full flap, is automatically calculated by the aircraft and displayed on the MFD perf page. Today it is 112 knots. We'll aim for a 500 foot stable gate, with all checklists complete, aircraft fully configured, and airspeed within 20 knots of the approach. We can see our top of descent marker coming up. We need to lose 15,000 feet to get to sea level. 15 times 3 for a 3 degree profile equals 45 track miles. VNAV does not appear to be fully working for this descent profile yet, so as we approach our 45 distance remaining mark, I'm going to wind the outsail down to 8,000 for our constraint at Surid. I'll then start a descent off in VS, targeting a rate of 1500 feet per minute down. Power levers need to come out the notch to about 40% torque to prevent overspeeding as we pick up some energy. Leaving flight level 150 marks transitions, so we'll set our altimeters to local QNH, turn on landing lights and seat belts, and check the cabin pressure. Next we'll do the descent checks. FWS recall, landing elevation checked, FMS nav perf set and checked, DH MDA not applicable today, arrival briefing performed, descent checks complete. As we cross Bicep, a magenta vertical profile guide has become available. We can click in VNAV, which will activate VNAV path. 8,000 shows up in magenta next to the altimeter, and so we can wind our alt selector down lower to 4,900 feet for the IAF. We'll now complete the approach checks, seatbelts on, landing lights on, altimeters 1013 set and checked, cabin altitude was checked. As we approach Otlet, we can wind our altitude selector down to an MDA of 500 feet. As we make our inbound turn, our next constraint of 1970 is shown. I'm now at flight idle, slowing the aircraft down for configuring with flat and gear. Below 185 knots, flat 15 is selected. At 2 miles prior to the final fix, we should see our nav scale change to approach. If we were able to arm the approach, VFP would have gone from blue to green here, and we would wind our outcell up to the missed approach altitude. I'm not too sure about the simulator's logic here, so as we're visual, I'll select VS again. Reduce our rate of descent to slow us down. Below 170, I've dropped the gear. Centered the heading bug and selected heading. Below 150 knots, flap 30 selected, rate of descent increased now that we're high on profile. Before landing checklist. Cabin advised, landing gear 3 green, flap 30, power management, takeoff, TLU low speed, icing AOA off, external lights on. That time was 1000 to go to the 500 we had set in the outcell. Airport is on the other side of the bay here, so I'll brake right to line up with the runway. Autopilot's disconnected, I'm hand flying it from now. Aligning with the parpies, looking for 2 red, 2 white. With torque in the low 20s, that puts us on a comfortable 10 knots above the approach. Stable.
$200. 100. 50. 40. 30.
Power to idle,
20.
keep the nose coming down.
10.
When we see too low pitch, we can pull some reverse and gently dabbing the brakes to vacate the runway by Alpha 5 at the far end. Once clear of the runway, we'll bring the aircraft to a complete stop with a parking brake, set the gust lock, probes off, lights off, flap up, reset the trim to 1 up after landing checklist. I think that's where we will leave the tutorials for the time being. I'm sure you guys can figure out how to taxi the aircraft to the gate for parking. Just remember to select ground power from the tablet, then the overhead panel, after feathering the engines and before selecting fuel shutoff. Bye for now.